Good evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Light Sports Ramble. As always, my pleasure to come to you after work. And I am so pumped up today. I actually am going to attempt to have a guest caller. I'm sure you guys have all heard my sleeper picks this morning. Well, this evening I have a guest speaker, and it's Evan Witalison. I met him on Twitter. But we had a little Twitter conversation yesterday about sleeper teams, and I really liked what he had to say, so I invited him to talk today. So I'm actually going to turn this over to Evan, and I'm going to give you the phone now, Evan, and let's talk about your sleeper picks this year in the NFL.
Okay, well, the two teams I'm picking to possibly make a impact this year, maybe sticking to the playoffs, would be the Carolina Panthers in the NFC and in the AFC. It's kind of a toss-up. I do think Kansas City could do it, but I like to say the Cleveland Browns. And the Carolina Panthers, you look at, they have a very good quarterback in Cam Newton. They have very good running back in Williams, and they've really upgraded the defensive line this offseason with drafting defensive tackle from Utah, I'm not going to pronounce the last name, and then Kawan Short in round 2. Their defensive line is much better. They should get a much better pass rush, and that's really going to help with their linebackers, including their first-round pick last year, Toxie. And then for the Cleveland Browns, I really like what they did with their coaching staff. They have Norv Turner running the offense, and he's done really well as an offensive coordinator. Just as struggled as a head coach, but he's got Trent Richardson at his disposal. Got a pretty good tight end there in Cleveland, and the question mark on their offense is going to be their quarterback, Brandon Wheaton, but all he's got to really do is just protect the football, give it to Richardson, and make throws when he has to. And then defensively, Ray Horton did a really good job in Arizona, which I'm surprised he didn't get the head coaching job down there. He's bringing in a system, the 3-4, that the defense is actually built to run. They played 4-3 last year, not built to run it. They're built to run the 3-4. They had a really strong draft in drafting Mingo for LSU. And then you throw Kruger in there as well, got free agent, and then you got Whitney Rose as well. And then the secondary is really strong. So those are the two teams I feel could possibly sneak into the playoffs.
Well, that's great, Evan. I think you brought up a good point. And for those people and my listeners, I am not a Brandon Wheaton fan. I did a ramble, Evan, that I didn't think that Wheaton would actually start this year. I thought that Campbell would come in and supplant him. But I gave him props in an earlier ramble that he actually looked pretty good in this preseason. Why do you think he's made, and I think, a huge jump from last year? Because I wasn't impressed last year with him. But when I watched him, the little bit I did in the preseason, he has improved tremendously. What do you think attributes to that? I mean, I know you mentioned the coaching staff, but I'd like to hear your take on that.
Well, I think Norv Turner being there, and then their head coach, Rob Chininsky, I think how you pronounce it? He was the offensive coordinator at Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it either.
Yeah, but they know how to produce quarterbacks. Last time their head coach was in Cleveland was the last time they had the winning season. Back when he was the offensive coordinator there. He does well with quarterbacks. Turner does well with quarterbacks. They also, they just have a coaching staff that knew what the quarterback needs to have the quarterback be successful. And I think Brandon Wheaton, what he needs to be successful is kind of what, like the Ravens did, back when they won their Super Bowl, is be a game manager. And that's what Wheaton's going to need to be, is just a game manager. He struggled last year, but he is smart. He is more mature than most second-year quarterbacks with his age. And he's a leader, and I think the coaching staff's really bringing out what he does best.
Well, I think you brought up another good point there, so I'm going to stick with this, and that's being a leader. When we look at the Browns, one of the things that I see is I don't see that guy, that one guy on that team that stands out, that actually takes the team and puts them on their back. Do you think that's Brandon Wheaton?
I don't know if that's him per se, put the team on his back. He strikes me more as the lead by example kind of guy. Like, he's going to go out, be the professional, do his job, and, try trying to do it the best that he can, but I don't know if they really have that, rah, 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 put the team on your back kind of guy. So that's why I think they made just far a little bit short of the playoffs. But if you just look at their division as a whole, Baltimore took a huge hit with free agency. The Steelers' defense is a year older, and they're going to be slower. The Bengals are the only team in that division that really stands out. I think the Browns, with the other teams in that division being a little weaker, they could sneak into the playoffs. And they're definitely heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I think they're definitely headed in the right direction. And I would agree with you on the division. I mean, I used to live in Pittsburgh, so I traveled back there a couple times during the preseason. So I got to see a couple of the games, and I saw the Monday night game. I was not impressed. In my ramble, I actually picked them. I thought they were going to be the surprise team and actually get double-digit wins. But after watching the confusion in the preseason, I'm not quite sure they're even an 8-win team at this point. Now, again, we both know that the preseason is pretty vanilla. But we've also watched enough preseason in our days to know that you have to show signs of something. And I just didn't see it in Pittsburgh. Not in the games I've watched.
Not at all. And you look at Pittsburgh, too, like I said, the defense is getting older. That they're going to be slowing down. Then your offensive line has always been a question mark. Roethlisberger takes a lot of hits. Granted, he brings a lot of it on himself by holding out of the ball so long, trying to make a play. But he takes a lot of hits, and they don't have a running game. And they lost their best deep threat in Mike Wallace. So I can see them maybe winning 8 games, but it's going to be tough for them.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Now, again, I'm just going to keep rolling with this, and I appreciate your time today. You mentioned Mike Wallace going to Miami. I think Miami kind of overdid the bank there going and giving him that big deal. But, I mean, hey, you can take the money, you take the money, right?
Yeah. I think, Miami really overpaid for him, too. But Miami needed a top-flight receiver for that offense that Philbin wants to run. And, Mike Wallace gives him that deep threat. And then they have the short, the possession receiver there. His name escapes me at the moment, but they have the possession receiver. Now they got the deep threat, and they got a pretty good tight end. Now the only issue they have is they lost a huge blow. They took a huge blow on the offensive line, losing Long. But I think Pittsburgh's going to struggle without Wallace. I think the Browns are going to take advantage of that. And we've seen it all the time these past few years that there's always that one team with the first-year head coach that surprises everybody, typically.
Yeah, I agree. And so we spent a little time in the AFC, and I hope you got just maybe 1 or 2 more minutes with me. Going to switch over to the NFC, and I had mentioned it's a toss-up between the Buccaneers and the Panthers as my sleeper team. And I will give you a little preface. I was on, I think it was Tuesday, the power rankings came out, and I was surprised the Panthers were ranked as high as they were. I didn't agree with them being ranked so high in the power rankings, even though I think they're a good team. I just thought they were ranked a little bit too high. But you had mentioned some good things on defense. But let's switch over to offense with Carolina. I think Cam Newton needs to have a year this year, but talk to me about the outside threats that he has. I mean, what do you see there offensively at receiver? I don't see a lot, but maybe you see something I don't see.
Well, they still have Steve Smith, a wide receiver. He seems to not slow down at all. He's still there.
I agree.
I don't know how they're going to be at wide receiver, especially Ted Ginn Jr. He's always been a big special teams threat, but they did sign Hickson from the Giants. Tight end position, I believe Greg Olsen is still there, if I'm not mistaken, at tight end. He's a very good tight end. And then you got D'Angelo Williams, who's a good threat coming out of the backfield. The lack of having another weapon opposite Smith's going to hurt them. But I just, Cam Newton, they get on him after how, he had a bad year last year. He really didn't have that bad of a year. He had 3,800 yards passing, completed, close to 60% of his passes, and he had 19 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, and he ran for 740 yards. But he didn't have the year he had as a rookie, but he had a good year. And if one of the receivers opposite Smith, be it, Greg Olsen, be it Hickson, be it in can step up and take pressure off of Smith, that's really going to open up that offense.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Evan, when I was watching the offseason moves, I thought for sure that based on last year that the Panthers would go out, and I thought they were going to make a good push for Wallace. I thought that would have been a great fit there. But, of course, it didn't happen. But that's my only concern in Carolina is, if Steve Smith is now going to get double-teamed and they can't open up that passing game, it could lead to some struggles. But I'm going to go touch on something, and I was kind of chuckling while you said it. Yeah, Cam Newton didn't have a bad year last year. And what happened is he had such a phenomenal rookie year that everybody thought that he was going to have to put those same numbers up and do the same things. But I thought he had a decent year last year, but we both know that it equates to wins. And so, and that's what everybody is looking at is where are the wins going to come from? So with that said, Evan, any last comments before I let you go? I do appreciate your time today, and thanks for your insight.
Yeah, I appreciate being out. When you mentioned where the wins come from with the Panthers, I'm not sold on Freeman in Tampa Bay. I don't think he is, I think he's extremely overrated. We're going to see him being in a contract year, but I'm not sold on him, and I'm not sold on that Buccaneer defense. So I could see the Panthers winning both games against Tampa Bay. And the Saints defense, I don't see how they're any better than they were last year. They're switching to a 3-4, and they just lost, I believe, Will Smith for the season, their best defensive player.
Yep, he's out for the year.
And their personnel is 4-3 personnel running the 3-4. They don't have anyone on that team, that can run the 3-4. Like, when Green Bay switched to the 3-4, what did they do? They got B.J. Raji, they got Clay Matthews. The Saints did absolutely nothing, in my opinion, in the offseason to make that switch. So even though, their offense is back, Drew Brees is, still there, Sean Payton's back, I don't see how that defense stops anybody.
Yeah,
that's where the wins are going to come from with Carolina. I think it's going to come within that division, not counting Atlanta.
Yeah, and you know what? They could surprise Atlanta. I like Atlanta, but you always know in the NFL, you got to come ready to play every Sunday. Anybody can win on any day. So hang on the line, bud. I want to talk to you after I wrap up the ramble. But again, I appreciate your time today, bud. And I think I'm going to have you back. I think I want to talk some Packers after the San Francisco game on Sunday.
Yep, I'll be up for that.
So there you go, folks. That was Evan Witalison with his insight, and it was great insight. So I look forward to having him as a guest on the show more times as we go on through football because he's got some great insight. Always love talking sports. And for all my listeners, hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see you at the next red light. Have a great evening, everyone.